Ow! Ooh! So Jack, what were you just trying to do?
Well, I was trying to get on the A2 out of Neumünster towards Straße, which would stop at the great, wonderful, beautiful station Neumünster Süd.
I am on the record for calling this the worst train station in Germany. This isn't to be confused with Hamburg Hauptbahnhof though, which I called the worst central station in Germany. Totally different criteria, folks. That's a Bahnhof, a main station, while this one is merely a Haltepunkt, a stop. You know, we went to Germany's loneliest train station, so let's go to its most depressing. But where is this station? What trains serve it? And why does it suck so bad? Well, join me and my friend Jack from Stotot Transit for another exciting episode of Off the Beaten Track. Welcome back to the real north, but not quite north enough, or south enough. It's Neumünster Süd. Welcome to beautiful, scenic, Neumünster. It's a city north of Hamburg, really kind of midway between Hamburg and Kiel. I feel it gets too much of a bad rep. Yeah, I said it. I like this city. It has some pretty parts. Also very much so some not so pretty parts. But on the whole, it's pretty neat. All right, so let's start talking about the amenities at this station, because even though this is served by regional trains, as you may be able to tell from the red, have you seen my AKN video? This is very much so an AKN station. Now, while the S-Bahn, as some call it, is part of the Hamburg Transit Network, notably Neumünster and Neumünster Süd are not within the HVV service area. So this is Hamburg Transit not serving the city of Hamburg. That was on an AKN train though. That was the RB something, you'll see the number here, 82, which goes to Bad Oldesloe.
They're making a point of listing the operator and not the route number.
Neumünster Süd is one of those not so pretty parts, by the way. Hence why local YouTuber Jack Stotok and I decided to go check it out. Now before we did, we asked Reddit what there is to do around here. It became the most viewed post on the official Neumünster subreddit. Ah, that's all it takes, huh? And according to them, what we can do for fun here is having somewhat easy access to the designer outlets mall, go to a McDonald's. Oh, and sex kino. That's fun for the whole family. Thankfully it's March right now, am I right? What I also find very interesting is how they have the signs labeled here. They actually have the RB82 labeled on the signs here as if it was an AKN or S-Bahn route, but it's not. They don't even do that with the S5 in like Stade. Or not the S5, with the RE5, which is the express of the S5. I first visited the station where I did my video last year on the AKN, the Altona Kaltenkirchen Neumünster Railway, Hamburg's often untalked about train network. That's the A in the USA Bahn designation you sometimes see in their map. And despite serving Neumünster Süd, the main station there, these two stations are not in the Hamburg transit tariff zones. So thank fuck for the nationwide Deutschland ticket, right? Because otherwise that would be very confusing. This station may have 2 tracks, but it's one of the most bizarre setups I've ever seen.
So, like most 2-track stations, you would assume that one track is the up direction and the other is the down. But no. This track here is specifically... I don't think they have track numbers, actually.
No, they don't. One is the NBE and one is the AKN.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so... you would assume that most 2-track stations like this have one track for each direction, but not Neumünster Süd. See, this track here, the northern track, which doesn't have a number, is the track specifically for the RB82, the Nordbahn, the regional train, whereas this southern track is specifically for the AKN, in both directions, which is weird. But I think it actually makes sense. Like, since the trains do go at basically the same time, you don't want one train to be slightly delayed to block the other train, so they have them go in on different tracks. From the Nordbahn side, you can actually get onto the AKN tracks, but from the AKN side, if you are on that track, you cannot go to Bad Oldesloe. There is no connection there. There aren't any crossovers. There's one from this track to that one, but not the other way around. And I just think that's neat.
And know what's also neat? Today's sponsor. Because if you're stinky, you should wear some You should wear some wild deodorant.
That's wild.
That's wild.
That's wild.
Personally, I really like the roll-on deodorant. It's antiperspirant and it keeps me from getting all sweaty and stinky when I'm traveling. And oh goodness, I sure do travel a lot. However, they also have this lip balm I really like. The mango's oh so good. Almost want to take a big bite out of it. Use the code S-Bahn20 at checkout to get 20% off your order and to help the channel out. There is no T-pose man here. And the clock is broken. You'd expect with a layout like this that one track would be for trains heading away from Neumünster and one for trains towards, but that is not the case. The north track is served exclusively in both directions by the RB82, which goes to and from the town of Bad Oldesloe. Meanwhile, on the other side is a track for the AKN A2, which goes to and from Kaltenkirchen and often onwards all the way to Hamburg, again in both directions. After the station heading towards Neumünster, there is no crossover, despite there being a small rail maintenance facility next to the station. But on the other side, there's a singular crossover for the regional, meaning that regional trains could in theory cross over onto the AKN side, but in pretty much every conceivable case, the inverse isn't possible without a great deal of finagling. This leads to an odd situation where Neumünster Süd isn't so much a double-track train station, but more so two small single-track stations that have just been shoved together and held together with tape. That's bizarre, but not necessarily bad. With how trains are timed, this often leads to occasions where you can just have a pretty easy cross-platform transfer between the RB82 and A2, which is useful in one direction, but not so much in the other, as both terminate at Neumünster's main station. Which, fun fact, some documents call Neumünster Hauptbahnhof, but officially the Deutsche Bahn just calls it Neumünster. God, I love Germany, and I'm so glad that the Germans love consistency and not overcomplicating things with bureaucracy, I guess. Hey Jack! You ready to see what really makes this station so depressing? Yeah. We're gonna cross the street. Alright, Jack, let's cross the street.
I won't hier warten.
Nein! Oh, I do love this. Well, if you arrive from Neumünster, you're over there, but going into Neumünster? Also, see, they do call it Hauptbahnhof.
Oh yeah, the bus is called Hauptbahnhof, but the Deutsche Bahn doesn't. It's strange.
That's McDonald's. I've always wanted to go to a McDonald's. Ooh, train wheels. Oh, I want to see train wheels. On first glance from the platform, despite the weirdness, there's nothing truly heinous here. There's covered seating, but it's AKN-style glass covering, so while it will protect you from rain, on a hot summer day, it'll feel like you're roasting. There's also an abandoned side dragging like some actually pretty impressive bike parking, so Oh, and the original old station building is still around, now existing as a train-themed restaurant.
So this is often believed to be the original station building, but it's not actually. This was built a little bit after. They have a sign back here that does show what the original station building looks like. Ignore the American flags. Ignore the oversized Biergarten in the background. This is absolutely what it looked like in the past. Trust me.
The only problem is when you have to take a bus, particularly in the direction towards the designer outlets or across the street. Seriously, what the hell is this? That is a busy road. There is no zebra crossing, and that bus stop is basically just a sign in the ground. You have to cross active train tracks in said road just to get to the bus stop, and there's zero seating or cover at that. And then before someone says, well, yeah, this is better than my town of fucking, I don't know, Lima, Ohio, that's shit too, and you deserve better. Neat. Oh, it's not secured. Oh, no, look at that.
That is crazy.
A little hard to get rolling, but yeah, wow. Okay. Bye-bye wheels. To get into the restaurant, by the way, you have to walk through a parking lot, and then to get to the Reddit recommended McDonald's, you have to walk through another parking lot. This is just kind of ridiculous. Let me show you the experience of getting to the other side of the street and back at Neumünster Süd. Let's see how long this takes.
Hey, wait a minute. What's that game where you have to like cross the Frogger? And here we observe a Jamie approaching a real-life game of Frogger. She did not get hit by that lorry. She is running, she is running, she is running. She has reached the other side. The road is weirdly quiet right now. Now we observe, she just said, "This is horrible." And now we observe her attempting to cross the street, Altonaer Straße. This could be the end of the TFTSB YouTube channel.
5 minutes later.
We have been waiting here for quite a while now. Oh, she's running. She is running. Quick.
How long was that?
You've been recording for 2.5 minutes.
Jesus Christ. I know parking lots aren't super uncommon at AKN stations. After all, of the stops are longest route or in small towns that might not necessarily have the best transit. One station that comes to mind is actually Dodenhof, yes, spelled all lowercase, which literally serves a big furniture store mall thing called the Dodenhof. Yeah, the mall has its own dedicated train station. It's not unheard of. There's IKEAs that have train stations too. Anyways, the AKN station at the Dodenhof is on the far side of a parking lot, but at least it's in the parking lot and doesn't make you cross a busy street.
So, the AKN on this track here is scheduled to leave 3 minutes, that's for 3 minutes, before the S-Bahn train. But looking at that display there, we can see that AKN has 3 minutes of delay. Let's see what happens.
Back to Neumünster Süd. What a disaster of urbanism. What a crime against rail transit. What a case of I'm not mad, just disappointed. How this is going to work when they do upgrades to allow the planned RE78 route, which will go east from Hamburg and up through Segeberg to Neumünster to work, is beyond me. Are they going to bring back the out of service siding and put another platform? And if they do that and have to connect it to the other tracks, will the bike parking go away? Will the entire thing just need to be ripped up and rebuilt? And if we do have to have that, can they please put in a zebra crossing at least? Though I will say, as good as the bike parking looks, actually biking around the station looks miserable. This road is one lane, the Walmart away from being an American Strode. To quote a wise man, what were they thinking? Well, as it turns out, that's not my problem because my train back to Neumünster's main station is here.
All right, let's get on the train.
Jack, run! So as we hop on board, let's answer a totally unrelated viewer question, which is, put simply, since I've recently moved to Bremerhaven, why is Bremerhaven part of Bremen? They're so far apart, and they really are. According to Google Maps, 47 kilometers away from each other, to be exact. But thanks to multiple regional trains and the RS2 Regio S-Bahn line, getting between them is pretty easy. I just wish that IC service from Bremerhaven to Koblenz would come back. With that said, and yes, there is more history than just this, but as for why Bremen, the state, is a city-state like Berlin or Hamburg, but consisting of 2 cities, the other being Bremerhaven, it's actually the Americans' fault. No, I'm serious. After World War II, Germany was divided into Soviet, American, British, and French zones, and the American area mostly consisted of what are now the modern states of Hesse, Baden-Württemberg, and Bavaria. And yes, I tried my best to pronounce those super Americanly. You're welcome. However, the Americans wanted ports for their post-World War II zone of Germany, so they were given Bremen by the British. However, Bremen was not a deep water port, so they also were given this tiny strip of land north of it on the North Sea, now the modern city of Bremerhaven, which already kind of existed, but they lumped some other municipalities in there too to make modern Bremerhaven. Administratively, Bremerhaven was rolled up into the state of Bremen because of the Americans and what they needed. And even when the American occupation ended, these state divisions remained, and it was never rolled back up into the neighboring state of Lower Saxony. That's also why, despite both cities being in the state of Bremen, the main ports in Bremerhaven are actually part of the city of Bremen. On a cultural level, this has actually led to some pretty interesting cultural differences here compared to other parts of the country, including second and third generation American immigrants. No, I'm serious. I was talking with some new neighbors recently who spoke English, and it was English that, to me, if I didn't know that they were from here, could pass as being from the American Midwest. But no, they had grown up and always lived here in Bremerhaven. And as it turns out, a lot of Americans who came over during or after World War II just kind of stayed. They integrated but brought bits of American culture of that era with them, and not to mention, but due to the ports here, Bremerhaven is already a hugely international city. It's also why I'd say, and I know this might lead to gentrification, but whatever, I like it here. Bremerhaven is a really attractive city for a lot of folks from North America. The cost of living here is way lower than many other Central or Western European cities, and it's certainly cheaper than cities such as Munich or Hamburg here in Germany. But at the same time, much like Berlin within the Ring, it's a truly bilingual city, and I swear when I'm on the bus or down at the Hafenwalten or whatever, I feel like I hear English, not as much as German, but certainly a hell of a lot.
Out of curiosity, you timed out. How long did it take for that train to get from Süd to Neumünster, Main, Hauptbahnhof, whatever?
That's not what I timed.
Oh, what do you time?
Since both of these trains arrived at Neumünster at the same time, the AKN had priority, so it arrived here at Neumünster Main exactly 3 minutes before this RB.
So the AKN had priority.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Special shout out to the other neighbors I've met since moving here, by the way, particularly the ones from New Hampshire, Tennessee, and also one apparently from Guam. That's neat. I've never actually met someone from Guam before. So yeah, that's a video about the city of Neumünster that got low-key hijacked by an info dump about Bremerhaven. And just to show how much the Germans have always loved the Americans, let's end off with an excerpt from the popular East German hit song, Ami Go Home.
Go home, Ami, Ami, go home. Spalte für den Frieden dein Atom. Sag Goodbye dem Vater rein, rühr nicht an sein Töchterlein. Lorelei, solang du singst, wird Deutschland sein.
Ooh, that's gonna piss some people off, isn't it?